Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Best Practices for Editing Documents in the AIA Contract Documents online service webinar. I'd like to thank you for taking the time to join us today for this 1-hour webinar in which we're going to be presenting 10 or so tips on how to edit documents in the AIA Contract Documents online service. And the majority of the hour will be to answering your questions. So please use the chat function or question pod on the right-hand side to ask any questions throughout the session. We're going to try our best to answer as many questions as we possibly can today. Please be advised that we have 400 and more attendees that are signed in today and continuing to sign in. So it won't be possible to answer all the questions that come in, but we're going to do our best. And our hope is that for the hour training, you're going to have a lot of your questions answered. For any questions we don't get to today, please contact technical support. Please have patience as we do have a high call volume and we'll most likely have a higher call volume after today's webinar, but they will get back to you as soon as possible. There is a slide at the end of this presentation that has the technical support line, so you'll know who to direct your questions to after today's training. You will be receiving the PowerPoint along with the recording of today's training at the conclusion of the program as well. So with no further ado, I'm going to go ahead and get started. My name is Hasti Hijazi. I'm Director of Global Innovation Education at the AIA, and I'll be doing the first portion of today's training. I'm joined by my colleagues in technical support, Will Harris and Ariel Enriquez. Will and Ariel work diligently managing the technical support team, and they're the ones that are going to be answering the questions that you ask today. So I'm going to start before the Q&A session with a few items on how the online service is organized. Before we do get started, I do want to add that because this session is mainly Q&A on the product, it's not eligible for an AIA learning unit. So just want to make that clear, but I will direct you at the end of the presentation to our Learn page where you can have a wide variety of content-related webinars that are free of charge that are eligible for learning units in case you need continuing education if you're an AIA member. So having said that, let's go ahead and get started. So how is the online service organized? For those of you who've been working in ACD5, you notice that it's organized by Home, Projects, Template Library, and Contacts. Home tab is where you'll have recent activity and frequently used templates. Projects is where you really should begin editing documents from. The best process in ACD5 is to start with creating a project, and then you'll create documents within that project. When you open Documents to edit from the Projects tab, the project data will automatically populate. You can also open documents from Template Library, but the project data won't populate. So Template Library is a great place to find the right document. We have a lot of tools built in that will provide you information on how to find the right document, how to filter search results. You can also save custom templates here. We'll be talking about custom templates a little bit later. Lastly, fourth tab is the Contacts tab. You're going to manually enter your contacts here once. You'll use the contacts then to add project team members to your projects when you create them. Then when you create documents within that project, you'll notice that the project data and project team information will automatically populate. So even though you do manually enter them here once, you won't ever have to enter them in any documents you create from the project because it'll automatically populate. On the upper right-hand side, when you log into ACD5, you'll see a few different things. My settings and over your name. The help module is here, by the way. The white question mark icon that you see on the far right-hand side is where you can access ACD5 help, video tutorials, FAQs, and guides. My settings, every single user has this, and this is where you're going to be able to set your preferences, see your default settings, change your preferences, check what notices you'll get, and so forth. Administrators of multi-user licenses can access company settings. I'm going to very briefly talk about this here, and you can get more information in technical support. When a company purchases 2 or more unlimited annual subscriptions for their staff members, they can designate an administrator on behalf of the company account, and that administrator can set permissions for users, set groups of users, globally publish the work of one user so that all the users in the company license can access that work, and that could be a custom template or a clause or a contact. So it's a great way that an administrator can oversee the company account and also share work amongst the users. If you have any questions, you can contact technical support and they'll be able to assist you. And the company settings, that will only be seen by the administrator of that company account. They'll have a My Settings and company settings as well. And you can designate an administrator by calling technical support as well. This is a very important slide. I do basics online training every week. That's a great beginner slide or beginner's course for any of you who want a 1-hour in-depth beginner step-by-step. I'll show you at the end of the presentation how you can register for the ACD5 basics training. But this is a slide that I always start off the basics training with, because it's very important, especially for beginners, to know that when you're working in ACD5, you're going to start with that standard AIA template, and you have 2 ways to edit those documents and those templates. You can either use the online editor or offline editing in Microsoft Word. I'm going to talk very much in depth about this shortly, but again, online editor or Microsoft Word editing, and we'll talk about both. Regardless of which one you use, your final will be a locked Adobe PDF. You can't make any changes to it once the final has been generated, and it's variance checked. The variance checker is a tool that we build into all of our products. When you generate a final, the variance checker pop-up will appear and ask you if you want a clean or comparative final. This is the variance checker, and the variance checker is a cumulative summary of all of the edits that were made to the standard template. In the clean option, you've got a report at the end that indicates the page number where an edit was made. Anything that was added to the standard language is shown as underlined. Anything that was deleted is shown as stricken through. If you opt for the comparative final, there's no report at the end, but all of the edits are in line with the paragraph where you made them. Again, anything added is underlined, anything deleted is stricken through. You can't turn this off. This is built there and put in for a reason. We want to ensure that everyone's eyes who signed the final contract document knows exactly what changes were made to the standard template. So without any further ado, let's get started. I'm going to have a few tips before we go into Q&A, and we're going to get started with talking about editing offline in Microsoft Word. Editing offline in Microsoft Word is best for agreements. It's recommended because our online editor is an HTML-based editing system, so it's a much more smoother user experience if you have complex edits, which most customers do when they're drafting agreements. Complex edits include cutting and pasting from various document sources, so you might want to cut and paste, inserting tables, inserting large images, inserting bullets. Typically, most people have complex edits to agreements, and so editing offline gives you the best user experience. I'm going to talk about editing offline a little bit more, and I also want to make sure I plug the ACD5 Basics training as well. If you haven't attended it and you are a relative beginner to the product, I highly suggest that you do attend ACD5 Basics, where I go step by step through all of these processes in a 1-hour training. And I do that training on a weekly basis. Tip 2 for editing documents offline. Note that your default settings have already been changed for agreements. We have changed all customers' default settings, and this is in your My Settings. I told you at the upper right-hand side over your name, there's a My Settings. You'll be taken to My Settings page, which has all of your license, document, and general preferences here. We've changed your default settings so that all documents, all agreements that you open will open in Microsoft offline, always. Now you can change that back to always online, we don't recommend it. It's best for agreements to use Microsoft Word. Now, you can use the online editor for payment applications and change orders and certain forms. I'll talk about that later on in the presentation. But for now, just keep that in mind, that now when you open or click the name of a document, regardless of whether you click the name or click edit offline, it will open in Microsoft Word. We've done that to make it easier for you to be able to edit your agreements. Tip number 3, always begin editing from the Projects tab. I mentioned this earlier, and I'm going to say it again. So the best process is your second tab is that Projects tab. You want to create a new project first. You'll add your project team members from your contacts. You'll list all of your project data. And once you've created and saved that project, it'll appear here on the left-hand side. And when you select an existing project, you'll see there's a Create Document button. This is how you begin editing documents. You can click this button to open a template or a custom template or one of your favorites. And if you do it from here, all of that project data that you entered and the project team information will automatically populate in your document. So again, best to do it from projects and not template library. You want that information to automatically populate, so you don't want to manually enter that in. Tip number 4, when you're working offline in Microsoft Word, once you have clicked on the name of the document or clicked edit offline and made your edits offline, you have to import the file when you're ready to generate a final. So that's the last step in the process. You can make all your edits offline in Microsoft Word. You can send it as an attachment to other users so that they can edit and send it back to you. You can accept or reject their edits. And when you're done finalizing that draft, you're going to click Import File in your project to the right of the Create Document button. And then you're going to see that the document has been imported. You'll see by type, if it's the Microsoft Word icon, it's here. And you'll click Finalize to the right of the document to generate that final. Don't open it again once you've imported it into your project. If you notice that you made a typo and you need to go back and change that typo, go back to the original location where that document is saved on your computer. Fix the typo and then re-import the file. Just import the file again. You can always delete any old documents by clicking More Actions and Delete. So do not reopen a Microsoft Word document once you've imported it into your project. You don't want to reopen it again. Tip number 5, this is a question we get a lot in technical support. Know where you saved your document. So the offline documents are saved automatically in your Downloads folder on your desktop because that's where your default browser setting is. You can, of course, save documents to any location on your computer by just doing File, Save As. But if you've just been hitting Save and you don't know where it is, it's in the Downloads folder. Tip number 6. This is where I am actually going to shortly do a little demo because custom templates are pretty important. So in ACD5, you can use and create custom templates. So any document, any agreement you create in Microsoft Word can be uploaded as a custom template in Template Library. So a custom template is when you start with one of our standard templates. You customize it for your company. Maybe you're adding insurance or company-specific information, and you want to save it somewhere so in the future when you have another project, you can access that custom template and continue editing it for the new project. So I'm actually going to show you how to do this shortly, but just keep in mind that you can then from Template Library, Custom Templates, you can import your Microsoft Word custom templates into ACD5, into this folder. Then when you've created a project, you can click Create Document, and you're able to then open one of your custom templates. Before I do the live demo of that, I want to just give you tip number 7. Leave the project data fields blank when you're importing the custom templates. You're going to leave that blank, and these are the project data fields. You'll see them. They're gray in your Microsoft Word drafts. When you import custom templates to your custom folder, you'll leave that blank, and then when you reopen a custom template from your Projects tab, the project data will automatically populate. So I'm going to stop here to do a very quick demonstration. I'm going to go ahead to log into ACD5. and I'm going to show you how you do that. So first off, you can always create custom templates. You can find your documents under Template Library, AIA Standard Templates. You can filter the search results, and you can click on the name of a document or click More Actions and edit offline. When you do that, you can open the document in Microsoft Word, and since I'm opening it from Template Library, you see these fields are already blank. Okay, so this is the project data. I'm going to purposefully leave this blank while I'm creating a custom template. This is a chevron. You don't want to delete these chevrons, by the way. It can cause formatting issues in your final document. So you want to leave these intact. Whenever you're editing a document, you can work within the chevrons. But since we're creating a custom template, we're going to leave all of that blank. And then you could make whatever changes you wanted to provisions. I could delete provisions. I could add insurance or company-specific language that I want in all of my documents. And I'm not going to save this, but I just want to show you once I've completed my custom template, I would go to Template Library, third tab, Custom Templates, and this is where you can import that template. You click Import Template, you browse, you'll find that document on your computer and double click on it and then click OK. It'll be imported here. And then when you're at a project, what you can do is go to the second tab and you'll see whatever project you're in. And when you click Create Document, remember you want to create your project first, add all your project data, add your project team members, and then when you're ready to create a document, you'll see Standard, Custom, and Favorites. When you click Custom, you'll see whatever Word documents you imported, and you just download, and you'll see that the project data will automatically populate for that project that I opened it in. So I imported the custom template without the project data, but when I open it from a specific project, the appropriate project data will automatically populate. So that's a very quick live demonstration. Ariel, I'd like to turn it over to you now. Would you like to elaborate a little bit more on custom templates before we move on to the Q&A session?
Sure. So in addition for our custom templates, do you know that there's a difference between an online and an offline custom template? So the way to tell if it's an online custom template versus offline is the offline one will have a word icon, and the online custom template would have like a globe icon. So you know, if you're having some formatting issues while using that custom template, that might be the case. So it'd be best that, you know, you start off with a document that is a Word document, and you can use that as a custom template. And, you know, any future revisions, let's say you already uploaded a custom template and you need to revise it, what you just need to do is go to the templates library and then go to custom templates. And there should be a More Actions button right next to that template. And there's a download link there. Once you download it, you can revise it in Word and upload it back using the same process as importing it.
Okay, all yours, Hosting.
Thank you, Will. Just wanted to comment on some questions I got about audio. In GoToWebinar, sometimes when you're listening in on the computer audio, it can be a little bit tricky with the audio. You can always try calling in using your phone. All attendees have an audio portion of their GoToWebinar on the right-hand side. If you expand that, you'll see a dial-in number, and typically that is more reliable. And also, this is recorded. You'll be receiving the recording link, and we'll also be uploading it to the Learn page in AIA Contract Documents. Okay, so tip number 8, and this is the last tip before we open it up for questions. So I do encourage you to enter any questions you have about editing offline. We'll also then go to working online a little bit after this, but we want to devote a lot of time to questions on answering questions about offline editing. But tip number 8, don't delete the italicized instructions in your agreements. So you'll notice that there's italicized instructions in your agreements. It's probably, most of us probably want to delete these. It's best not to delete them, keep them as is, and that will lessen any formatting issues you might have. So now what I'd like to do is turn it over to Will and Ariel to answer questions that have come in on the chat. Just want to remind you, Will and Ariel, if you could read the questions before you answer them so that all of the attendees on the phone can know what is being asked.
Sure. So we're going to start out with some of the questions here. Okay, so we'll just bounce back and forth on this. First question is, how do you insert tabs within an online document?
So for online documents, there is no tab functionality. That's a limitation with the online editor. So we suggest that you actually use the edit offline option, which is more of a native word that has the functionality to tab. Because if you use the tabbing feature in the online, it uses it as a space rather than tabs. That's why sometimes it doesn't line up. So that's where we ask that you use the edit offline functionality.
Okay. Next question. It seems there's potential trouble by leaving the document in NAC5 when it has been downloaded, exported for the offline editing. Someone else prints the online file. You may consider checking out the file. That is a function of other products. However, with this application, this would basically insinuate that everyone would have to access the online application to check in and check out the file. So right now we're not using that method of sharing. You can still collaborate simply by emailing, which is much more widely known and widely used by everyone for sharing a document. We do have some online features, but we'll get into that a little later on. The email feature is the best way to do that. The next question. Contacts, is there a way to create multiple people under one firm instead of having to re-enter the firm name, address, phone number? No, unfortunately not. Can you quickly show us how to mark a template as a favorite? So
it's really easy to mark a template as a favorite. So that under more actions, there's a Hasti, I'm not sure if you want to show them, but if you go to more actions on the template tab, so under the template tab for each template, there's a more actions, and then there you can add it as a favorite. And once you add it, it's going to go in your favorite templates where you can easily access it each time you choose to create a document from it.
The next question is, why am I not able to use any formatting functions in Word, such as settings, tab, margin, bold? This would depend on which document version you're working from. For instance, the desktop software, the documents are locked because the document functionality was all contained within the application. Some functions were reserved for that application. But the online application, if you create a new document, within the online application, you download that document, all those options in Word are available to you. The next question is there a way to set up automatic retainage percent on the G703 to auto-calculate? That's a question we'll defer. If you could, send that question to docinfo, DOCINFO, @AIA.org. They can inform you on all manner of actions pertaining to the content of these documents.
Will, I'd like to interject here. So our website is AIAcontracts.org. When you go to our website, there's a Learn section. That's the third tab here. We actually have a great webinar, Completing Payment Applications and Change Orders, where we go step by step on how to complete them. Your retainage question might be answered there. It's free. It's on YouTube. Just go to Learn on our website and click on this on-demand webinar. It'll take you to YouTube. It's a 30-minute training that takes you step by step on how to complete that. And also, of course, please contact DocInfo as well, and they can assist you.
The next question, can we use the Word doc to collaborate with an owner and have their markups import? Yes, you can. Okay. The next question is, when I fill out a G701 and enter the text in the body of the form, it is aligned. When I print it out, it's misaligned. How to fix that? So with the G701, one way, if you want to tab a document, you can use I believe the command is Control Tab if you want to indent. But we'd have to, other than that, we kind of have to see the document to see exactly what it is that is going wrong with that particular document. Not all answers are germane.
And it's possible if I'm assuming if you're having issues with the alignment, it might be an online document that you're working with. So again, it doesn't have the capability of tabs to line it up. So we would suggest to download that document offline, and so you can edit it and apply the tabs using the Control tab. So once you've done that offline, you can upload it back to finalize, and it should align it that way. I mean, if not, please contact technical support if that's not the case.
Ariel, can I interject? I do see a few questions that I'd want to do a live demo on. I do see some questions on how to finalize a document. Again, if you haven't attended the ACD5 Basics training, please do, because I go over all of this in depth. But very quickly, I just wanted to show you that if you are working offline in Microsoft Word, within your project, you can import the file to finalize it. So let's say you've worked offline in Microsoft Word, you've finished all your edits. Time to import. You're going to click Import File, choose your file, double click on the file, and then click Import. It'll be imported into your project, and you'll see it finalized to the right of that document. You can see if it's a Word icon, that's something you've imported. Again, finalize is to the right of that document. You can choose Cleaner Comparative, and you can go ahead and finalize that document. Also, there was a question about how to add contacts. Very quickly, I'll just show you on the fourth tab. You just click Create New Contact. You're going to enter all of the information for your contact and your point of contact as well. When you're done, click OK. You'll be able to edit or delete any contacts at any time. Then when you go to your Project tab and you create a new project, after you've entered your project data, you're going to add the project team. When you click Add Team Member, your Contacts tab is going to appear in a pop-up, and this is where you can add your project team to your project. Will and Ariel, back to you.
Okay. The next question is there a way to avoid generating a final PDF with the word paragraph deleted? Paragraph deleted actually comes when something is deleted within that document, either italicized text or other AIA text that has been deleted. Something has been removed in order for the paragraph deleted information to show. So the short answer for that is typically no. The next question, when I have more than one consultant for a project, how do you choose which consultant information to populate in an agreement such as C401?
So with that one, so in your project, you would set up multiple consultants there. So you would have it set up under your contacts tab, and you can add those to your projects. So when it's time to create a document, you can actually choose. It'll allow you to choose which consultant to pick from when there's multiple ones. Okay. And the next question is, why don't the add-ins work offline? So currently, the add-ins that I assume that you're using is from the desktop software, which is not compatible with the templates created from the online service. However, the documents created from the online service, they're usually unlocked, so you can use the track changes already rather than using the add-ins from the desktop software. You can accept, reject the same way using the native Word track changes. And also, as a future enhancement, we plan to include additional add-ins so you can have extra functionality in Word.
The next question is, does it matter what version of Word you're using? As long as you're using Word 2007 or higher, we should be okay, typically. Deleting articles. I noticed you deleted an article. Doesn't that leave formatting issues and the big comment stating paragraph deleted? Yes, it will. What are your best tips for fixing wonky formatting? I'm not going to go through the whole thing here on this one. Typically, wonky formatting. It would depend on the path of that document, on how it was edited initially, how it was started initially. If that document has been edited online and offline, we may have to send that document to tech support for review and or fixing. There's no short answer for that one. Next question. So we can have multi-users under one license through company settings. If you upgrade, yes, you can, but as a single user, no, it's a single license per single user.
And you can find more information on our purchase page. If you go to AIAcontracts.org and click purchase, you can see under the unlimited access column, this is where you can select the number of users and what the pricing is. So if you had 4 users, you could see the pricing reflected here. Once you've purchased multiple users in your company, then you can contact technical support and ask them to designate an administrator for you, and that administrator will oversee the company account. Company settings is only shown for the administrator that's been designated.
Okay. Next question, I often have issues when adding additional clauses in an offline Word document where the formatting gets a bit messed up. Okay, so the clause itself infers it was done through the online application, online editing. The formatting in this case could become problematic. We would have to look at this document here to move forward. That there's no quick and easy answer on this one. So we'd have to look at that document to provide an answer for you on this.
And is there any potential as well that they could also be copying and pasting it from another document as well? Because that will carry over the formatting, and it will not match to the fonts that is in your AIA document. So the AIA document has specific stylings. But yes, we might need to take a look at that document closer. So if you could please contact technical support on that.
Okay. How can timeout? The next question is, how can timeout be prevented? The timeout is there for online security. It's set right now at 20 minutes. As most secure sites, the timeout feature is set so there's no way that an individual user, can manipulate that time. Next question. Tab function is not available in Word. Okay, this is an in-house Word. This would be an in-house Word question for administrator of your local administrator. We're speaking of control tab. I guess I'm not exactly sure of this question. So if we can restate that question a different way, I want to make sure that we're covering the answer on this. So if you can, just restate that question a different way so that I know exactly what you're referring to. The next question is, how do we fix it if we accidentally delete a chevron? That's not an easy one to do on your side. The best thing to do would be to send the document to us at tech support and advise the agent of what was done. Therefore, we can resurrect those things there for you. But at least let us know that that would be great. Thank you. The next question is, when I edit contracts offline, they often show up with excessive space left in the fields where I fill in data. Is there a way to reduce extra spaces throughout the contract?
For this one, this might be a specific issue. So without us seeing the document, I can't tell what's going on. So please contact technical support and let them know that that's where there's excessive space within the document when finalizing it. Also, you might want to check as well track changes, because sometimes with track changes, you might have spaces there, but you delete it, but it still shows up. So that's one additional thing to check.
Next question. Can we create a numbered or bulleted list in forms like the G711? No. The G documents are the forms are more restrictive than the contracts. So the answer to that would be no. The next question is, what are the specific disadvantages of editing online? And what are the advantages of editing offline? The advantages would be more functionality offline. The advantages would be a better output document, editing offline, easier editing, no timeouts. Those would be the advantages of editing offline. Online editing would be the opposite of what I just said. Next question, we would request that we be able to edit the document's instructions so that our client would need to get these. Okay, I'm not exactly sure about the instructions themselves. The template can be edited, but the instructions of that template cannot be edited. If there's something that you wish to further elaborate on, you could, either using comments or on a separate document kind of sort of, but the contained instructions are not editable for legal reasons. The next question, what happens if I have been editing online? Possibly nothing. You could have a complete great experience in editing online and getting the outputs that you need. It depends on which document you're doing. So just saying, just statement here is that if you edit offline, especially for contracts, the output is more typical of what one would expect. It's more palatable to what one would expect. The next question, can we edit the owner change order offline in order to use tab functions?
Yes, you can download that document offline so you can use the tab functions.
Next question is how do you upload the document once you have built it offline? So to upload the document, you go to the Projects tab, you go to the project that you're working on, you select Import, Import Document, and select the document and import it that way. So from your Projects tab, import that file. You must have a project created in order to import. The next question, is there any effort to improve the online editor to function more like Word? Yes, that's a constant challenge, and we are working to improve the online editor to a manner that it's similar to that what one would expect in Word. However, that capability is not available by any vendor at this point in time, not Microsoft, Google, or anyone else, nor AIA, but we are working to improve that experience for you. Can documents be printed without a variance check? Yes, you can print any draft Word document, a Word form. Next question. Sometimes when I import a Word document and then finalize it, there are lines throughout the entire document. Do you know what would have caused that?
Okay, so it's possible that there's a metadata that's missing from your document because that determines how your document will be finalized because it will check against the standard template. But with that one specifically, it's a metadata issue, and I suggest contacting our technical support line so we can help you fix that. It should be a quick fix, usually.
Okay, the next question. How do I do a draft document in PDF final form? I do not like sending the drafts in Word. They can be edited. So you can do a check variance to the document and send a PDF. You can always do that. That'll lock the document so that they can't edit it before sending. Next question is, how does the AIA intend for the users to assemble attachments? You can assemble attachments by using the project manual feature to combine several PDFs if that's what you wish to do. So the project manual feature would be the best way to accomplish this action.
Well, let me interject here since we've gotten a lot of questions on this, and it's actually one of our tips. So you can combine, as Will said, multiple PDFs into one file using Project Manual, and you can actually create documents outside of ACD5 to combine if you wanted to combine a cover letter or specs with your final contract. If that's what you choose to do, just make sure you convert whatever document you want to add to an unlocked PDF and import it into your project. Project Manual only combines PDFs. So in your project, when you click Project Manual, it's going to show you all the PDFs in your project, and you're going to start checking documents that you want to combine, such as agreements and exhibits. You'll see the document name here, and you'll use the arrows to change the order. So if I wanted Clean Final to be on the bottom, I could just use the downward facing arrow. And then if you scroll down, you can click OK and name your project manual. And once you click OK, it'll save at the top of the list over your project. At the top of the list, here it is. And it's, one file that's combined multiple PDFs. So that is how you combine agreements and exhibits.
Okay. The next question is, why when I'm doing a change order online is the spacing off? I have to make it not line up to get it to print lined in the final version. So this would depend on the path of that document. Again, typically one can do the Control tab to have the correct spacing throughout the document. But other than that, we probably need to see that document to see exactly what you're referring to. A lot of these things are really dependent on the path of the document and how the changes were made initially, as opposed to how we correct them. It's not the same for any few documents. The next question is, can you show how to add contacts?
So to add
I already
contacts,
answered that question.
Okay, you ready?
That's right, but you can just go to that fourth tab, click Create New Contact, and when you're done filling this information, you'll just click OK.
Okay. So the next is, can you alphabetize contacts?
So to alphabetize contacts, so you would click on what Hasti is showing up there. You can click on the name at the top, like at the column headers, and it will arrange it in alphabetical order. You can do it the same as well with firms.
Okay. The next question, will italicized instructions not recommended to be deleted show up in the final? Yes, it will. Next question, when editing offline and adding two owners to the document, there's a spacing issue. If the document is done offline completely, we should be able to alleviate this kind of issue. Next question, we use offline contract documents supplied by our legal team. These are .doc. Sometimes the documents lose the ability to be finalized. Often with this, if this is the case, you're going to continue to run into problems this way. What I would strongly suggest here is to start this, because we're doing 2017 documents anyway, we need to start with a fresh and clean new template, so that we're not plagued with the same agonizing behavior in the end. So to continue this is to continue your agony.
And also, if the document is also supplied by another party, we have metadata in our document that allows us to identify the type of document and to finalize it. If the other party removes all of these information, you'll lose the capability of finalizing. So that's just another scenario.
The next question, sometimes the draft version of a document looks fine. The offline editing, when I finalize the formatting changes, referenced above, this will be the same thing. We need to see the path of that document. Next question, when I use an apostrophe, it looks like a box symbol on the final. Okay. That's possible. That is possible. Okay. Next question. What risk is there to the AIA metadata? What risk is there to the AIA metadata when the AIA contract is sent back and forth between parties? Each party mail system scrub metadata from the ELK. The risk is you're not being able to finalize the document. It'd be a lot of work that we not be able to use. A bad document in the end would be the the unintended consequence of that. The next question, so I can have one license as administrator, but set up other users, project managers. I think if you have a multi-user, the only way you can have an administrator would be to have a multi-user license. So that would be a 2-user license or more, minimum. A single user license does not have an administrator. Okay. The next question, why are we able to delete the chevrons if doing so causes so many headaches? The chevrons, the chevrons are there. They're necessary to be there to have the functionality that we wish. That functionality is to be able to transfer inserted project data from the document into the data dialog if need be. There's multiple functions that would be good for. To remove that feature or function basically would deny one from being able to move data from one to the other. For instance, you'd have to put the data into the dialog and then populate the document and not be able to do the reverse. Right now you can. It's possible to do it either way. Next question is, why is it recommended to edit offline? I've been editing online only. If you've had success editing online only, that's perfectly fine. The suggestion would be, if you edit online, stay online. If you edit offline, stay offline. Whatever you're used to doing. For users, what the online editor doesn't handle well are typically are tables, tabs, repagination, things of that nature. So if any of those things are troublesome for you, then you may want to consider offline editing. Next question, I found that creating subcontractor is easier using the online version. Access the add-in tab. Okay, that works well for you. Continue doing it that way. Are you able to access the add-ins tab offline in Word now? Next question, why does a warning alert come on that it's going to log me out and when I'm actively using the online editor? Can you change the settings so that it only comes up when someone is inactive? The warning should come on typically to advise that the session is about to expire, and not after. So this would basically allow you to continue using the online editor.
We would suggest to do a frequent save, and that will extend your time to use the online editor. Currently, it's set up to 20 minutes, and it will, start warning you the last 5 minutes of your session.
Next question, are you planning a way in contacts to create multiple people under one firm in the future? I'm not quite understanding that full question. I'll take this one offline. I'm not certain of this full question here. We're going to come back to that one.
Can I interject? I want to just finish up a few more slides on online editing, and then I'll turn it back to you. I just want to be cognizant of the time. Is that okay?
Certainly.
So as we mentioned, everyone, working offline in Microsoft Word is best. However, there's certain G-Series forms like payment application and change orders that aren't available offline. That's because we want you to use the online editor for them, namely because you can import data from previous months. Again, see the payment application and change orders on demand free video on the Learn page for that. But so you will use online drafts for things such as payment applications and change orders. A few tips on using the online editor. When you're working in the online editor, make sure that prior to making edits, once the document has opened, that you manually save it and name your document. After you have done the initial save, it will also automatically save it for you every few minutes. However, it's an online editor. You want to make sure you're saving frequently when you're working in the online editor. Save frequently to avoid being logged out. I know many mentioned that you will be logged out for inactivity and need to log back in. Again, don't delete the chevrons in the online editor either. You can work within the chevrons, but don't delete them. If you delete one, you can also always go and do the back feature in Word if you haven't saved it. So again, just don't delete those chevrons. Here's that bonus tip. Again, if you want to create, combine multiple PDFs into one, you're going to use that project manual button in your project in order to combine them. And then I'll send it back to Will to keep answering questions, but while he's doing that, I want to just put this slide up. Again, the Learn page is here. Any questions we don't get to today, please direct them to technical support. Any questions on the content, on revisions to 2017 release documents, on what document is best to use. If we have a particular document, you can send that to docinfo@aia.org. Will, back to you.
Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to try and speed out through some of these things here. Next question is, how can you attach PDF documents to a contract for things like exhibits? You can attach PDF files using the project manual feature that was just introduced a moment ago. So the project manual feature would be the way to do that. Next question. Can you import a group of contacts instead of one at a time? You can migrate contacts, but you shouldn't multi-migrate. If you've not used the migration feature yet, you could do that, but at this point, you probably will be better served by just importing. Recreating those new contacts rather than remigrating the entire thing. The next question: Are projects and contacts user specific or available company wide? If you have a multi-user license, then they'll be available company wide. Next question: When editing offline in Microsoft Word on a Mac, document protections keep preventing me from accepting, rejecting edits on previous versions.
It's possible if this, not sure where this document came from. If it was created from the desktop software, there would be protections on the document. I'm not sure if this was shared with you. But documents that are created from the online service directly, they should be unlocked. So you should be able to use the words accept, reject feature.
Okay. Next question. Once I import a Word doc, how do I add user notes without opening that doc online?
So currently, offline, you're not going to be able to add user notes, but that is a feature that we're adding into the capability of Edit Offline.
Next question is, can you add multiple contractors to a project team? Yes, you can. Next question, is there an engineer category? Yes, there is. Next question, I remove large empty line gaps, but the gaps larger in the final. Again, we'll see that document, the path of that document. Sometimes, we'll just see that document in order to answer that question specifically for you. Next question, Should you type the name and address in between different chevrons or hit the Enter key? So the name and address should be typed within the chevrons. Typically, as it goes down, the general order is name with the entity, like LLC or LLP. On the second set, then the address. Third, the second set of chevrons, city and state, and so forth and so on. That would give you the desired results. Okay. The next question, does changing the name of the file impact the ability to finalize the document?
So, in general, changing the name of the document will not impact the finalization. However, if there were metadata that was deleted from the document, then you'll have the problem with generating the final. It's not specific. You can rename the document, but the metadata in the document, once that's removed, the application is going to have a problem recognizing it. So sometimes to fix that one, then you would have to rename it back to the standard name, which the application will try to identify that alternative way.
Follow-up question, the offline editor, does it give me the option of choosing which consultant I want? So that I've used the online editor. Can you show me how it works? Projects that I've added more than one consultant. Okay. So you can add multiple consultants here. I think we've addressed this one in early conversation. Okay. The next question: if our firm has set up project folders in ACD5 for individual offices, people store their projects outside the assigned office project folders. Can these projects be moved, dragged into the office folders? Have been prepared. This would be a permissions thing set by the administrator. We may have to. You may have to with this one contact tech support just to get some more specifics on it. But this would be a permissions issue that would be that could be handled locally by the online service administrator. Create clean version in Word, accept all changes, and quit tracking. Yes, in Word you can do all of that. However, the final document will show will show the changes. So one of the questions, your formatting answer is not true. A solely offline document still does not translate correctly. So make sure that we're on the same page here. The AIA software has never been a WYSIWYG. It's never been a what you see is what you get. There's not a match per match. There will be a conversion process. We don't use word track changes. We use what's called a variance check, what does interpret differently. So you're correct. You're correct. I'm not wrong. You just there's just a difference in what we're saying here. So we have to understand the application itself in order to get the answer that we're looking for. Okay. Next question. Regarding the A401 documents, after finalizing, is there a way to have the document unlocked? No. Next question, is there a better way to use Internet Explorer or Chrome for AIA? Is there a better way to use Internet Explorer or Chrome for AIA software? Not necessarily.
So both browsers are compatible with the online service. But in generally Chrome, we have more reports of users have a better experience in Chrome than Internet Explorer, but they are both supported. If you have any challenges with either specific browser, please contact our technical support. I'll be glad to address that.
Okay. The next question, will I be able to open two contracts and copy portions of text from one to another? Definitely not. Definitely not.
Yeah, I would recommend if you want to do that. We don't recommend opening two contracts at the same time online. But if you are, if you're offline, definitely you can open two Word documents and, you can make edits. But if you're working online, what I would suggest is that the document that you're referencing, you can open that one, download that in Word. At least it's not using up the online document.
Okay, the next question, could formatting problems be due to hidden style definitions inside Word or each individual's computer? No, that's not a factor in this one. The next question, can you change the font in a document? Yes. Next question, is there a way to view a document while online editing without showing all the changes made prior to finalizing the document?
Yeah, you can use the check variants feature so that you can see the document prior to finalization. So it will be under the functionality of more actions and then check variances. And you can choose the PDF output for the document.
Okay. Next questions. If you delete a contact in contacts database, does it delete in all contacts the contact was listed? No. Okay, the next question. On the owner change order, information entered shows different font sizes. How can this be corrected? For this one, we need to see this document here to see the exact font changes that you're speaking of, you're referring to here. You can send that to Docs Tech Support. That would be great. The next question is it better to accept changes before uploading our Word document or leave them? Does it matter? No, it doesn't matter. Next question. Restating the question, G71 offline editing functions not available in Word, grayed out. So you can do the Control tab on here to get the desired spacing that you're looking for, the spacing that you're looking for here. Next question, is editing offline recommended for us Mac users who use Pages and not Word? No. Next question, the best way to ensure access to add-ins and track changes, except rejects, use online templates, migrating edits from an already established offline template to a new online template. We don't suggest mixing the two. Either it remains an offline document or an online document, because the formatting will change if moving one to another, from an offline document to an online document. Next question, if you edit offline, then do you need to generate that final online after? Yes. Next question, when editing agreements, is there a way to strike through without deleting from the document?
So the strike-through formatting is a reserved formatting of the online service application. So that's only reserved if you're deleting a text. So unfortunately, you can't use that strike-through unless you mean to delete that text.
The next question, do we have to legally use words to write a date rather than numeric? No, you can use whatever, either or. Next question, regarding collaborating with owners offline, what tips would you recommend? How have other companies been doing it? Offline. I think the simple message was in order to get a better and more consistent output final document, the offline editing, whether it's owners, contractors, subcontractors, it doesn't matter here. All the offline editing will give you a better output final document. The next question, since the edit are in light blue color in front of a gray background, it's hard to read. If you print a draft, is there a way to print drafts easier to read? If you're speaking of Word itself, the colors are controlled by the user. It's controlled by Word. It's defined. It basically has 5 colors that the Word uses. It goes right back to the first color from the 6th editor. So that's controlled internally, but controlled by your Word program.
Will, just giving you a 3-minute warning. We are over time, but let's give it until 3:15 Eastern, if you don't mind.
Sure. Okay. Okay. The next question: when you edit offline and then you import the file, then when you finalize the document, there's a line that would be italicized, but in the draft it is normal. Fix that. But this, again, we'd have to see this document. We don't see that document. Okay. Next question.
All right, the next question, is there a way to fit to page? We had a document that extended to a second page by 1 line. On the app version, it was only 1 page. So I'm assuming this document might be a form document. So usually with forms, you try to keep it to 1 page. However, even just by adding 1 line, let's say in the address line, if you're adding extra lines there, it would push the document to another page, even though it does look like 1 page in the actual draft. However, when going through finalization, it goes through a conversion process, and it actually changes some styling, applies some styling to the document that may push that as well. So unfortunately, I mean, you might need to cut down the lines on the contract, or try to use an abbreviation.
Next question, I don't quite understand. I use AIA Documents daily. Print Preview creates a draft PDF. Not exactly certain of the question here. Okay, come to us on that one. The next question, if you add a paragraph, do you just renumber the remaining paragraphs that follow the section from creating a project manual? Project manual always goes to the main title, main file, doing something wrong. If you add a paragraph, you will have to number that new paragraph, but there are some particulars to that, like bringing over certain parts of the previous paragraph. So we may have to handle this one offline directly. The to make certain we're on the same page. I want to make sure you get the correct answer here. Email us this offline, please. Okay. Okay, so I think we're at time here now, Hasi.
Yes. Okay, well, Will and Ariel, I want to thank you so much for your time and answering questions. I also want to thank all of our attendees. We know we went over, but we wanted to give as much time as possible to answer as many questions as we could. Thank you so much for your time and energy. Unfortunately, if we were not able to answer your question today, please direct it to technical support at 1-800-942-7732. The recording of today's session and the PowerPoint will be emailed to you by tomorrow. You'll also see the recording on our Learn page along with other recordings. Again, if you haven't attended the ACD5 Basics training, I always recommend that. I do that on a weekly basis, and that is on the Learn page as well. You can register for that. It's free. I've got 3 dates in May currently set up, so please review that and sign up if you can. So again, thank you all. We hope you found this helpful, and have a great afternoon.